What do you do when your own mother sends a text cutting you out of the family, only for the truth to surface that you've been secretly paying for the life they lived without you? You are welcome. If you are just joining us, do well to subscribe, like, and comment where you are watching from. My name is Rose and this is my story. The text came in on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon at 2:15 p.m. A time so painfully normal that Rose Armstrong would remember it for the rest of her life. Mom, don't call or come over. We're done. The family has decided. Rose stared at the message, rereading it as if it were written in a language she didn't understand. Done. The family decided? What family? For years, she had been the responsible daughter. The one who covered power bills, paid for repairs, sent money to help with groceries. The one who showed up even when no one else did. The one who cleaned up after her mother's emotional storms and her sister Rebecca's financial disasters. And now she was dismissed with 3 sentences. Rose's phone buzzed again. Mom, please respect our decision. Respect? A decision she wasn't even part of? Her chest tightened, not in panic, but in something colder. Recognition. This wasn't sudden. This was the final cut in a wound that had been bleeding for years. She tried calling anyway, more out of disbelief than desperation. No answer. Then another message. Mom, stop calling. This isn't up for discussion. Rose lowered the phone, her hand trembling. The room felt too small, the air too still. She could feel something shifting inside her, something that had been quiet, patient, obedient for far too long. She grabbed her keys. She wasn't going to argue. She wasn't going to beg. She just needed to see their faces, to understand why. When she arrived at her mother's house, she froze. She heard laughter. Not random laughter, familiar laughter. Voices overlapping. Chairs scraping. The clinking of plates. She stepped closer, peering through the slightly open dining room window. And what she saw cracked something deep inside her. Her mother. Rebeca. Their cousins. Uncles, aunts, everyone. A full table. A family dinner. The kind Rose hadn't been invited to in years. But the plates. The wine bottles. The catered trays. They were all paid for by the monthly money Rose sent, to help with bills. Her stomach twisted. She had been financially sponsoring a life she wasn't welcome in. Her own mother raised a glass. To family sticking together, she said loudly. Rebeca laughed. Except Rose. Thank God she's too busy being dramatic to show up. Someone else joked. Yeah, don't invite the fun police. Laughter erupted. Rose didn't move. She didn't cry. The betrayal was too big for tears. She stepped back from the window like she had touched fire. For the first time in her life, she realized something brutal. She wasn't excluded accidentally. She was excluded deliberately. And the text wasn't the beginning. It was the confirmation. The drive to St. Mary's Hospice felt like drifting through fog. Rose barely remembered the traffic lights, the turns, or the rain hitting her windshield in nervous little taps. All she could hear were her mother's words echoing through her skull. Don't expect anything from us. And now Grandma's lawyer was telling her she had been erased from a will that she knew her grandmother would never rewrite without her. Something was wrong. Very wrong. When Rose pushed through the hospice doors, the familiar blend of antiseptic, soft music, and lavender hit her like a wave of memory. This hallway was the last place she had seen her grandmother alive, frail, tired, but still squeezing her hand with that same fierce love she'd always carried. She approached the front desk. I need to ask about my grandmother. Ruth Armstrong. The receptionist's polite smile flickered. Let me get Nurse Helen. The name froze Rose mid-breath. Nurse Helen. Grandma's favorite nurse. The woman who brushed her hair, read to her on bad days, and sent Rose short updates whenever she managed to sneak past Rose's mother's strict, no calls unless it's serious rule. A minute later, Helen appeared from the hallway. But instead of her usual warm smile, she looked tense, like someone bracing for impact. Rose, she said quietly. I was hoping you'd come. The statement made Rose's pulse spike. Hoping? Why? Helen gestured to a private family room. Let's talk inside. The moment the door closed, Helen's shoulders sagged, as if she'd been keeping something heavy, unbearably heavy, trapped inside. I should have contacted you sooner, she began, voice shaking. But, Your mother told the entire staff not to call you. She said you were unstable and shouldn't be disturbed during your meltdown. Rose's stomach twisted. What meltdown? The one she said you were having over money. Rose stared, stunned. Money? I wasn't. I know. Helen cut in gently. I knew she was lying. But Rose, I have to tell you something. Something I've carried for months. Rose braced herself, but nothing could have prepared her for Helen's next words. Your grandmother didn't sign her final will. Rose blinked. I don't understand. Helen swallowed hard. She couldn't. Her hands were too weak. She was on heavy medication. Some days she couldn't keep her eyes open for more than a few seconds. She physically could not sign anything. A cold numbness crept up Rose's spine. But the will has a signature, she murmured. Helen nodded, anger burning behind her eyes. Because your mother and sister forged it. The words felt like being punched. Helen continued, voice trembling. One night, they showed up after visiting hours. They told the night staff they had permission. They closed Grandma's door, pulled down the blinds, and they brought a document with them. I tried to stay inside, but your mother ordered me out. She said it was family business. Rose's heart hammered violently. You saw them forge it? I saw enough, Helen whispered. And I heard the rest. She reached into her tote bag and pulled out a small flash drive. I recorded the audio outside the door. I knew what they were doing was illegal. I knew your grandmother would never want this. Rose stared at the flash drive like it was radioactive. Why give this to me now? Helen's eyes softened with grief. Because Ruth loved you more than anyone. She talked about you every single day. She told me you were the only one who ever showed up for her. She made me promise, her voice broke, that if something ever felt wrong, I should come to you. A tear slipped down Rose's cheek before she could stop it. She closed her hand around the flash drive. In that moment, the truth became undeniable. Her mother and sister didn't just betray her. They didn't just steal what wasn't theirs. They committed a crime against the one person who showed them unconditional love. And now, Rose had the evidence that could tear their entire world apart. Rose sat in her car long after leaving the hospice, gripping the steering wheel as if it could keep her from collapsing. Traffic moved around her like a slow, distant river of noise, but she barely heard it. Her mind was filled with one thing. The flash drive in her pocket. Evidence. Proof. A weapon. Not against her family, no. Against the lies that had poisoned her for years. When she finally drove home, she didn't turn on the lights. She slid into her chair, plugged the flash drive into her laptop, and pressed play. Static. A shuffle. Then voices. Her mother's first, sharp, controlled, dripping fake authority. Hold her hand steady. She won't know the difference. She's barely conscious. Rose's breath caught. Then Rebecca's voice, impatient and annoyed. Just sign it yourself, Mom. No one's going to question it. Rose is too stupid to check the details anyway. The pen scratched. Papers rustled. And then the most devastating sound of all. Grandma's faint, confused murmur. Our Rose. Where's Rose? Rose covered her mouth as tears spilled freely. Her grandmother had asked for her. She hadn't been confused. She hadn't forgotten her. They had hidden her, erased her, stolen her goodbye. When the recording ended, Rose sat in the darkness, trembling, but the grief slowly hardened into something sharper, something colder, something stronger. Not rage, not vengeance, clarity. She wiped her face, opened her browser, and typed, Elder fraud attorney near me. 2 days later, she sat across from attorney Miles Carter, a man known for ripping apart financial abuse cases like he was born for it. His office smelled of old books and victory. He listened to the recording with no expression, until the end. Then he leaned back and exhaled. This, he said, tapping the flash drive, is enough to bury them. Rose swallowed. I don't want revenge. I want justice. And I want the truth. Miles nodded approvingly. Good. Revenge burns fast. But justice? He smiled. That leaves a mark. He laid out the plan like an architect drafting a masterpiece. 1. Authenticate the audio. 2. Pull hospice entry logs for the night they forged the will. 3. Request Grandma's medical charts showing her inability to sign anything. 4. Freeze the estate distribution until the investigation concluded. 5. Serve the fraud and forgery charges publicly, so no one could twist the narrative. Rose listened, steady as stone. I want it done at the family reunion. Miles raised an eyebrow. You want them confronted in front of everyone? Rose stared straight at him. They erase me in private. They can face the truth in public. Miles smiled slowly. Then we'll give the performance of a lifetime. The following week was a blur of silent preparation. Nurse Helen signed her statement. The hospice provided their logs. The attorney secured the injunction. And Rose, for the first time in her adult life, slept peacefully. Not because she was winning. Because she was done losing. The family reunion arrived on a warm Saturday afternoon. The kind of day meant for laughter, food, and grandchildren running barefoot in the grass. Rose parked far from the house and walked through the backyard gate like a shadow entering sunlight. Her relatives froze one by one. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Is that Rose? She wasn't invited. I thought she was cut off. Didn't her mom say she went unstable? Rose ignored every word. She walked toward the center of the yard, toward the woman who had given birth to her and the sister who had stolen what wasn't hers. Her mother's eyes widened. Rebeca choked on her lemonade. Rose smiled, polite, calm, terrifyingly collected. Don't worry, she said, slipping her phone into her pocket. I'm just here to give you your last wish. Miles stepped out from behind her, and the yard went silent. Because everyone knew. When a lawyer arrives uninvited to a reunion, someone is about to lose everything. The energy in the backyard shifted instantly. People who had been laughing seconds earlier now stood frozen, gripping their plates like shields. Kids were pulled aside. Conversations died mid-sentence. Every pair of eyes locked onto Rose and the attorney beside her. Her mother was the first to speak. What is the meaning of this? She demanded, voice high and trembling. You can't just show up here. I told you. Rose lifted a hand. The gesture was small, but it silenced an entire reunion. I know what you told me, Rose said calmly, and I'm here to honor it. Miles stepped forward, his expression professional but merciless. Mrs. Armstrong, Ms. Rebecca Armstrong, my name is Miles Carter. I'm the attorney representing Rose in the matter of the fraudulent will of the late Ruth Armstrong. The color drained from her mother's face so quickly it looked like someone had unplugged her soul. Rebecca stumbled back, bumping into a table and nearly knocking over a bowl of fruit salad. Fraudulent, her mother sputtered. This is ridiculous. There was no fraud. Rose tilted her head. Then you won't mind if we play something for everyone. Miles pulled out a small Bluetooth speaker. The crowd leaned in, morbidly curious. Rebecca lunged forward. Turn that off. But she was too late. The recording crackled to life. Her mother's voice filled the yard. Hold her hand steady. She won't know the difference. She's barely conscious. Gasps shot through the crowd like fireworks. Then Rebecca's voice. Just sign it yourself, Mom. No one's going to question it. Rose is too stupid to check the details anyway. A collective, oh my God, rippled through the relatives. A few stepped away from the Armstrong sisters as if fraud were contagious. Then, the sound that broke Rose's heart but sealed the case. Our Rose. Where's Rose? Grandma Ruth's weak voice drifted across the speakers like a ghost returning for justice. When the recording ended, silence fell over the reunion, thick, suffocating, electric. Her mother's lips trembled. Rebecca's eyes darted everywhere, searching for an escape that didn't exist. That wasn't, you don't understand, her mother stammered. Miles cut her off. We have authenticated the audio. We also have the hospice logs showing neither of you were permitted to obtain signatures, and medical documents confirming Ruth Armstrong was not mentally capable of signing anything at that time. Rebecca turned on her mother in pure panic. You said nobody would find out. You said she wouldn't do anything. Rose's mother hissed, Shut up, Rebecca. But the damage was already done. Neighbors watched. Relatives whispered. Phones were raised. Someone was recording. Miles cleared his throat. This is a formal notice. The will is being contested, the estate is frozen, and both of you will be contacted for official statements regarding charges of forgery and elder financial abuse. Rebecca's mouth fell open. Charges? As in, criminal charges, Miles said plainly. A murmur exploded through the crowd. Her mother swayed, gripping a chair. Rose, honey, you can't do this. We're family. Rose stepped closer until they were eye to eye. No, she said softly. You just used the word family like a shield. Like a weapon. Her mother's eyes glistened. I was scared. We needed the money. You don't understand how hard things were. I paid your bills, Rose said calmly. Every month. And you used that money to host dinners without me. Rebecca's face twisted. Why couldn't you just stay out of it? Grandma liked me better anyway. Rose didn't flinch. Maybe she did, she said. But she trusted me. She turned slightly toward the crowd. And now so does the truth. Miles handed her mother a crisp envelope, the official notice. Her mother stared at it like it was a death sentence. Rebecca whispered, broken, Rose, please. Rose's voice remained steady. You erased me. But you forgot one thing. She stepped back, spine straight, eyes clear. I don't stay erased. Chaos erupted the moment Rose finished speaking. Relatives began whispering in clusters, the kind of low, sharp whispers that always come before a storm. Kids were ushered indoors. Several people pulled out their phones, some to record, others to call spouses. A few simply to pretend they weren't witnessing the most scandalous moment in Armstrong family history. Rebecca backed against the patio railing, her chest rising and falling too fast, like she was trapped underwater. Her mother reached for her, but Rebecca recoiled. Don't touch me, she snapped. This is all your fault. Rose watched them unravel in real time. The powerful duo who once ruled every family decision reduced to finger-pointing and panic. Ladies, Miles said, completely unfazed, before this gets any louder, you should know something else. Both women froze. Miles reached into his briefcase and pulled out a second envelope. This one was thicker. We submitted the audio and the hospice records to the district attorney last week, he said. They opened an investigation immediately. Her mother's voice cracked. Why would you do that without telling us? Miles blinked. Because you're the suspects. Rebecca shook her head violently. I can't go to jail. I have sponsorship deals. I'm supposed to do a skincare live tonight. One of the cousins muttered. Influencer jail arc incoming. Her mother's face tightened. Rose, please. Be reasonable. Think about how this looks. Think about your family. My family? Rose echoed. You mean the family that met every month without me? The one I unknowingly funded? The words hit harder than yelling ever could. Her mother crumpled. But there was no time for emotional theatrics. Because that's when two police cruisers pulled up in front of the house. A hush swept the yard. The kind that only arrives when destiny steps in wearing a badge. Two officers walked through the gate, crisp, calm, and carrying the weight of inevitability. Rebecca Armstrong? Her breath caught. Why, yes. Melissa Armstrong? Her mother's hand shook in the air. I'm here. You're both under arrest for suspicion of forgery, attempted financial coercion, and elder exploitation. The backyard exploded in gasps. Her mother staggered backward. No, please, this is a misunderstanding. We can fix this. Rose, tell them. For a brief moment, Rose remembered being 11 years old, cleaning the kitchen while her mother praised Rebecca for trying her best, even when she did nothing. She remembered being 20, paying their rent while Rebecca partied across cities. She remembered that text at 2:15 p.m. Don't call or come over. We're done. And she felt nothing. No guilt. No desire to rescue them. Just closure. Rebecca screamed as an officer gently took her by the arms. Rose, don't let them do this. I'm your sister. Family doesn't do this. Rose finally looked at her. You're right, she said softly. Family doesn't do this. The officer read Rebecca her rights as she sobbed dramatically, still insisting she had a brand to protect. Her mother was quieter. Not because she accepted responsibility, but because reality had drained the fight out of her. As the officers escorted them out of the yard, cameras flashed. Phones recorded. Neighbors peeked over fences. For the first time in her life, everyone saw the truth Rose had lived with for years. Rose didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She just exhaled, long, slow, steady. Miles turned to her. You okay? Rose nodded. For the first time? Yes. He gave a small approving nod. Then let's go finish the paperwork. Behind her, the police doors closed. The cruisers pulled away. And with them went the last pieces of the life she once begged to belong to. Not a victory. Not revenge. Just freedom. The house was quiet again, but this time, it wasn't the silence of fear or tension. It was the silence that comes after truth detonates, and every life finally settles into dust. 3 days after the arrests, Rose, Miles, and Aunt Carla sat in Grandma Ruth's old lawyer's office. Heavy wooden bookshelves lined the walls, filled with legal volumes and framed photos of clients shaking hands with a younger, sharper version of Mr. Whitaker. Now he was older, thin white hair, glasses low on his nose, and a face carved with the kind of wisdom that only comes from watching too many families fall apart over money. He folded his hands. Thank you for coming, Rose. I know the last week hasn't been easy. Rose gave a tired smile. It's been a lot. Aunt Carla squeezed her hand. You handled it better than anyone I know. Mr. Whitaker pulled out a thick document and tapped it lightly. This, he said, is your grandmother's real will. The one she signed before the strokes. Before the hospital stays. Before certain parties tried to take advantage. Rose's stomach tightened. Mr. Whitaker cleared his throat and began reading. In full consciousness, I, Ruth Armstrong, leave the house, the land, and the savings account to my granddaughter, Rose Armstrong. Rose blinked. Only me. He nodded. Yes. She was very clear. Aunt Carla leaned forward. She always said Rose was the only one who checked on her without wanting anything. Rose felt warmth bloom in her chest. The kind that comes when the truth finally speaks louder than manipulation. Mr. Whitaker continued. To my daughter, Melissa Armstrong, I leave $1,000, on the condition that she uses it to seek therapy. Aunt Carla choked on a laugh. Rose covered her mouth. To my granddaughter, Rebeca Armstrong. He paused, raised an eyebrow, then continued carefully. I leave a journal, so she might one day learn the difference between attention and love. Miles raised both brows. Wow. Grandma didn't miss. Rose exhaled shakily, part heartbreak, part vindication. She had always known her grandmother saw more than she ever said. Mr. Whitaker set down the papers. Rose, everything is yours now. The house, the savings, the business files, the land deeds. Your grandmother wanted you to have a foundation. Something she believed you'd build a future on. Rose swallowed hard. I don't want to take anything from them. You're not, he replied gently. You're taking what was always meant for you. Rose didn't speak. She just let the truth settle inside her. Soft, heavy, real. Aunt Carla reached over again. Your grandmother adored you. She used to brag that you were the only one with her hands. Creative, clever, steady. Rose's eyes burned. I miss her. I know, Carla whispered. But look at what she left you. Not just property, but trust. Legacy. A future. Rose nodded slowly. For the first time since Grandma's death, she felt something that wasn't grief or fear or anger. She felt anchored. Miles leaned back. Next steps are simple. Secure the house, finalize the documents, and start putting everything in your name. Rose took a long breath. Okay, she said. Let's do it. When she stood up to leave, she felt taller. Not physically, but internally. Like she was finally stepping into a life she didn't need permission to live. Outside the office, the sun hit her face, warm and soft. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the light settle over her. This wasn't revenge. It wasn't triumph. It was inheritance, the kind that mattered. The kind she had earned through loyalty, love, and truth. And the kind no one could ever steal again. By the time Rose returned home, the Armstrong estate felt different, not just in walls and furniture, but in energy. Every room seemed lighter. The echoes of betrayal that once lingered like smoke had dissipated, leaving clarity in their place. Her mother and Rebeca had been released on bail, but everyone knew the story was out. Social media posts, whispered conversations at the grocery store, Even the neighbors who had once waved politely now whispered, cautious eyes following her steps. Rose wasn't afraid. She wasn't triumphant. She was steady. It didn't take long for the inevitable confrontation. Her mother appeared in the doorway. A mix of shame and defiance painted across her features. Rebeca lingered behind her, arms folded, expression scowling but uncertain. "Rose," her mother began, voice cracking. "This is too much. We can fix this. Please don't make it permanent." Rose didn't flinch. She had waited years to hear the truth, and now that she had it, she wouldn't be swayed by desperation or guilt. "Fix?" she said softly, each word deliberate, weighted. "Do you mean fix what you destroyed? Fix the years of lies, the dinners I paid for, the bills I cleaned up, the moments you erased me from?" Her mother's lips trembled. We didn't know it would get this far. We thought." "You thought?" Rose's voice sharpened. "You thought that hiding the truth and taking everything from me would make me disappear? That I'd never notice?" Rebeca stepped forward, trying to plead, but Rose held up a hand. "Don't," she said. "I don't want your excuses. I don't want your apologies. I want distance. I want peace." Her mother's face twisted in anger and confusion. "Distance? You can't just—" "I can," Rose interrupted. "Because I don't need you. Not for money, not for validation, not for approval. All I ever needed was the truth, and now I have it." Rebeca's voice faltered. "Rose, I was just following Mom. I didn't know." Rose's eyes softened briefly, but only briefly. And that's exactly the point. Following doesn't absolve you, and ignorance doesn't excuse betrayal. Her mother took a step forward, desperate. "We're still family. You can't turn your back on us." Rose shook her head slowly. "Family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by respect, honesty, and love. You refuse to offer any of those. So I am done." A long silence fell over the room, heavy and absolute. Even the walls seemed to hold their breath. Her mother opened her mouth again, but no words came. Rebeca's eyes glistened with unshed tears. Rose turned toward the sunlight streaming through the windows, letting it wash over her face. For the first time in decades, she felt unburdened. She felt her worth, her power, her freedom. "I've already taken back what is mine," she said quietly. "Legally, ethically, emotionally. And now I leave the rest to time." With that, she walked past them, calm, measured, and unshakable. Her mother tried to call after her. Rebeca tried to reach out. But Rose didn't look back. Every step she took was a reclamation of herself, her life, her peace. When the door clicked behind her, it wasn't just a door shutting. It was the end of manipulation, lies, and control. It was the end of being small. The end of being invisible. Rose stepped into the sunlight, not triumphant, not vengeful, not bitter. She stepped forward whole, free, and in command of her life, the life she had always deserved. And in that moment she understood fully. Justice isn't always about punishment. Sometimes justice is simply taking your life back. Weeks passed. The Armstrong house, once a battlefield of whispers and lies, now felt like a sanctuary. The air carried a sense of calm, a promise of new beginnings. Rose moved through it like a queen reclaiming her kingdom. Not for power, not for revenge, but for herself. The legal matters were finalized. The fraudulent will was voided. The estate, the accounts, the house, and all of Grandma Ruth's assets were now officially, unquestionably Rose's. No loopholes, no hidden clauses, no shadows lingering in the corners. She walked through the rooms, running her hands over the polished surfaces. Each object, each corner, carried the weight of history. But history didn't own her anymore. She had survived it. And in doing so, she had reclaimed every fragment of herself they tried to erase. Her design firm flourished. The house became her home and her workspace, a living testament to resilience. Clients came in awe of both the home's elegance and Rose's talent, unaware of the storm she had weathered to stand there today. Occasionally, a message would arrive from her mother or Rebeca. Some apologies, some pleas, some attempts to justify past misdeeds. Rose read them once, let them sit for a moment, then archived them. She no longer needed validation from those who never offered it. She found joy in quiet things. Early mornings with coffee on the balcony, sketching new designs, calling Grandma Ruth's old friends to hear stories of the woman who had always believed in her. Slowly, laughter returned, soft at first, then richer, warmer. Rose learned that peace isn't about forgetting. It's about owning your truth. Every tear she had shed, every moment she had felt unseen, became a foundation for strength. Betrayal had carved her, yes, but it had also honed her. One evening, as the sun dipped low over the horizon, Rose stood in the backyard where family dinners once echoed with exclusion. She let the breeze brush past her, carrying away the memories of manipulation, of unpaid debts, of lies whispered behind closed doors. Her mother's words, once weapons, now felt distant. Don't call or come over. We're done. Done. Yes, they were done. But so was she, done being a victim, done shrinking to fit their expectations, done surrendering her power. She smiled faintly. They had given her nothing. And yet, in that emptiness, she had found everything. A soft ping from her phone drew her attention. A client confirming a new project. Another message from Aunt Carla checking in. Rose paused, realizing something profound. Love, loyalty, and trust weren't inherited. They were chosen. And she had chosen wisely. That night, as the stars emerged over the quiet streets, Rose sat by the window, pen in hand, sketching plans for her new collection. Every line was deliberate, every curve a declaration. She wasn't chasing revenge anymore. She was building, creating, living. And in that moment, she understood fully. The most powerful kind of family revenge isn't punishment. It's life. It's peace. It's taking back your worth and your future, and refusing to let anyone steal it again. Rose looked around her home. The house that had witnessed betrayal, now alive with possibility. The walls didn't hold whispers of pain anymore. They held promise, strength, freedom. She whispered to herself softly, resolutely. I needed nothing from them. I have everything from myself. And with that, Rose closed her sketchbook, leaned back, and allowed herself to feel the rarest luxury of all. Contentment. Not hollow, not fleeting, whole. Complete. Free. The Armstrong legacy hadn't belonged to her mother or Rebecca after all. It had belonged to her. And now it finally did. Thanks for watching till the end. Subscribe, like, and comment if you think revenge was worth it.